If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button because we are moving into our last story of the day, folks. And this one is a doozy. We have Senator Ted Cruz on The View completely destroying them. Now, a part of this is going to kind of piss you off because it's so frustrating, the tactics of these women. It's so frustrating, the things that they do. But Ted Cruz, if you have not read one of his books, I believe one of them is Ted Cruz called One Vote Away, about Supreme Court cases that were literally one vote away from passing. And it is amazing that it didn't get through. And it's thank God some of them did not go through. So that's Ted Cruz. He is on here promoting his new book. But let's just go ahead and roll this one, folks. This is crazy.
Your responsibility was to the Constitution and democracy, not to Donald Trump. But it seems to me we
I agree, and let me be very clear. I think that the Democrats had been undermining the Constitution and undermining democracy, and that the book that is coming out tomorrow is on exactly that topic: how the Department of Justice and the FBI have been turned into partisan weapons to attack the political opponents of the Biden
administration. But your guy that you're supporting gave no respect to the Justice Department, gave no respect to how it's supposed to work. He doesn't recognize a subpoena. We got to fight to get people to come and do something. Well, you're talking about we corrupted it. You guys don't pay any attention to it.
Well,
that's a great talking point.
I don't do talking points. This is just how I feel.
But it happens not to be true.
Well, nobody cares how you feel. We care about facts, not just your feelings. We care about logic rather than your feelings. We care about reason rather than your feelings, Whoopi. But it's an amazing statement to say, because even if you look back when Jason Chaffetz was the chairman of the Judiciary Oversight Committee, there was countless Democrats under the Obama administration that wouldn't show up when subpoenas were there. I mean, you could literally find video after video of Jason Chaffetz hounding people because they had to be dragged in after not showing up to their subpoenas left and right. You had Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the Obama administration, dodge subpoenas. So don't give me this whole thing of like, oh, well, Trump doesn't respect the judiciary. Trump doesn't respect this. He doesn't show up for subpoenas. It's a bunch of hocus pocus, folks. It's a bunch of BS. But hey, it's all about our feelings rather than logic.
Oh, honey.
So if you look at, you guys at the beginning of the show had this long discussion about, is Donald Trump going to testify under oath? Of course he's not. Nobody thinks he is. And by the way, did Barack Obama testify under oath? No.
He never defied a congressional subpoena.
But you know who did? You know who did? Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, was held in contempt and tried to cover up the malfeasance of the Department of Justice. He refused to show up for the subpoena. He was held in contempt of Congress.
Weaponized the Department of Justice.
Give me one example.
Bill Barr. Real quick.
Okay, you said a name.
Let me get a chance to get it.
Okay, weaponized. Give me the target that was persecuted, because I can tell you who the Democrats.
I want to pause it there. You notice how she just sunk right into her seat, because Democrats, and we talked about this in the second segment, is that they say these blanket statements. The news media does it. The progressive left does it. The Democrat Party does it. For example, say, there's racism out there. Who are the racists? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Well, you say there's institutional racism out there. Who are the institutions? I don't know. Who's in those institutions that's racist? I don't know. Okay, so there's no racism out there. No, there's racism out there. Perfect. Name one. She names a person, and she can't go anything further than that. She doesn't have anything prepared. She doesn't know what the guy did. She can't label him anything. But this is what they do, folks. The second you just go down the ladder with them, they can't do anything about it. It's just a phenomenal debate tactic of just calling them out for these blanket statements. Black Lives Matter. Yes. What about Black Lives Matter do you want to zoom in on here? Maybe the nuclear family of them wanting to destroy it. Maybe the way they spent $90 million buying mansions and donating to all these trans activist organizations that Candace Owens called out. So you can actually go down with the factual knowledge of what we know from their IRS statements on how they spent their money, where it went. And by the way, a lot of this stuff is just really odd. A lot of this money just kind of disappeared. So you could bring that up. But, again, when you get into the details, it all just evaporates with the Democrat Party. Let's roll it.
Democrats, Merrick Garland directed the FBI to go after moms and dads who go to school boards and to treat them as domestic terrorists using the Patriot Act. That is fundamentally wrong, and it is.
You write about that in your book.
But
yes,
let me get a.
Writes about it in his book. Perfect. Furthermore, I want to support Ted Cruz here because under the Obama administration, if you recall, The IRS literally went after conservatives, name brand conservatives. They had lists and everything. And the Obama administration was like, we didn't know anything about this. It turns out there's freaking emails up the wazoo about all this stuff. Eric Holder knew about it, but they want to push this whole thing about Trump, not respecting the Justice Department, not showing up for subpoenas, even though we talked about Eric Holder not showing up. We talked about countless Democrats under the Biden administration when you had the Benghazi, when you had all these other things taking place with the Fast and Furious case. Hell, with the IRS issue, not showing up for subpoenas. We talked about Jason Chaffetz. You also had Trey Gowdy on the podium there for some time, not showing up to subpoenas, but they're going to push all this stuff because their audience don't have a clue what they're talking about, what's going on. They're just there to clap with the applause thing that shows up for them clapping, rather than really know what's going on.
A chance to get in, Senator, but thank you for being here. Back in 2016, when it was you and Donald Trump were the last candidates in the Republican nomination, I remember working with my bosses on Capitol Hill, members of the Freedom Caucus, begging them to endorse you because I thought you were the true conservative who could defeat that man.
Thank you.
He won. I ended up going on to work for him. I've made my peace with those decisions. But January 6th is something I have a really hard time moving beyond from. And I say that as a constitutional conservative, which is what you pride yourself in being. How can you be okay with the undemocratic action of trying to disenfranchise 80 million voters? And do you believe Biden legitimately won the election?
So what I'd say is a couple of things. Number one, in this book, I have an entire chapter on January 6th, that if you want to know the inside story of what happened, listen, I recognize a lot of the folks who may be here or watch this show are not politically on my side of the aisle. That's fine. I'm glad we're having conversations. I'm glad we're actually talking to each other. America, there's so much screaming and yelling and hatred that if this country is going to make it through, we got to actually try to understand each other and hear what the other is saying. So I would encourage you, especially if you don't happen to agree with my view of politics, read the chapter on January 6th on the inside.
Election.
I read it as somebody.
Really good question.
I did. I read the
sure.
chapter as someone who agreed with you most of your career. How do you reconcile your constitutional convictions with what happened on January 6th and trying to overturn the election when 60 court cases got knocked down? And
Lady, by the way, she's clearly an anti-Trumper. So she claims that she's a Republican and a constitutional conservative and all these things, but she calls Trump that man. And now I went to work with him and I had to quash that with myself and all these other things. Okay, lady, whatever. If you notice, it's just like she really thinks that those people storming the Capitol were trying to undermine the election. I'm not saying that that wasn't their agenda, but she really thinks that they're doing this whole coup thing, storming the Capitol, that they're going to take over the United States government, flip and overturn the election. Come on. Okay. You don't think that's a little out there? I don't agree with January 6th. I don't like it. Again, I can only emphasize these people are idiots. Okay, I'm not just talking about the people on The View. I'm actually talking about the people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th are a bunch of idiots. They shouldn't have done it. I don't agree with it. They deserve everything they got going for them. But for you to really sit there and think that this is going to sit there and change the election, that would have instituted Donald Trump as president of the United States, I mean, you got to be really far out there, folks. But hey, there's some people that are. Let's go ahead and roll it.
just
voted
finally
against certifying the election.
was Biden legitimately elected? Because half the party thinks that he wasn't, and it'd be very powerful for you to tell the truth.
So listen.
That's a manipulation there. I know I keep pausing it, but heck, that's what we do here. Give commentary here on the Bald Brad Show. If you do want to follow it, I'll try to leave this whole video here so you don't have to hear my commentary, but I figure that's why you're here. It's amazing that they think, and they're lumping in, well, the half the party thinks that Joe Biden wasn't legitimately elected. That's a misconstrued, and when you give those polls, it depends on the person and how you're questioning that to conservatives or Republicans, because was he elected president? Absolutely. But there was things that took place during the election that we don't agree with, that it wasn't a fair and free election. You literally had dead people voting. You had people that literally had properties that never actually existed, that you can literally go find in the registry yourself and go to the property that doesn't exist. It's just out there, out in the desert, and somehow they voted. How can you vote from a registered address of which doesn't actually exist? Some of these addresses were literally on a freeway. They were literally in empty parking lots, like nothing around as far as the eye can see. But they're going to sit here and say that, yeah, oh, it's legitimate, it was fair and free, that there's no issues. So when we say that, they automatically say, oh, well, Joe Biden, he won the election fair and square. He didn't win the election fair and square. And he probably wouldn't have won the election if you never extended the freaking election day to election week. Can we talk about that one? I mean, there are so many things that is wrong with the election, but I got to be careful here, folks, because I don't want to be removed off YouTube, censored, and banned by the progressive left because I say something they don't like.
Biden is the president today. There's a lot of folks in the media that anytime... Hold on. I'm answering exactly that question. There are a lot of folks in the media that try to anytime a Republican is in front of a TV camera, try to say the election was fair and square and legitimate. You know who y'all don't do that to? You don't do it to Hillary Clinton, who stood up and said Trump stole the election.
They didn't storm the Capitol. They didn't try to kill my former
Abrams, who said that the election was stolen. They sat here and said it was illegitimate, and you guys were fine with it. Okay, so it's illegitimate when Republicans win, but not when Democrats.
No, you know, here's the thing. We may not like when Republicans win, but we don't go and we don't storm. We don't try to change the... We'll go to court. We don't do that.
Did I miss an entire year of Antifa riots where cities across this country were burning and police cars were being firebombed?
I guess you did.
Your position is the left doesn't engage in violence, really?
No, they wanted to noose our friend Mike Pence. Like, how do we make sense of that?
You just accused us of doing something we didn't do. You said Hillary Clinton didn't say whatever she didn't say. I'm saying to you, listen.
And she said it's sitting here, and you were fine with her saying it was illegitimate for Republicans to win.
She called Donald Trump the next morning, and she conceded the election, Ted.
Okay,
took the call.
As did Stacey Abrams.
All right.
She sat there while Donald Trump was getting sworn in.
Hillary Clinton says Trump is an illegitimate president. Hillary Clinton says the election is stolen from you. Hillary Clinton in 2002, George W. Bush was selected, not elected. Joe Biden, Al Gore was elected president. So Joe Biden claims George W. Bush was illegitimate.
Right? Or is it just you that...
Oh, here we go, folks. This is what makes you aggravated. Oh, well, you just said we don't scream at each other. So as he's completely destroying this entire panel for their hypocrisy that they've been exposing and just throwing out there to all their viewers that are just sitting there just lushing it in, oh, it's so good, everything they say is true, he's shellacking them right now. And so what are they doing? They go, oh, I thought you weren't supposed to yell. I thought we were going to yell at each other. Literally, Whoopi Goldberg, 10 seconds before this, was yelling. They're trying to overtalk one another. So all he's doing is raising his voice because you guys keep interrupting. You keep wanting to chime in and add in rather than listening to the guy that you invited on your show, you brought on your show to hear him speak. You're the one that keeps interjecting. So yeah, he's going to be talking loud, but because they're getting shellacked, this is the tactic they do. And we all know that they do this. Sometimes it's a character argument, meaning they're talking about something they did or something they're wearing, or they're going to name call them or something like this. It's just another tactic to sit there and bring down what he's actually making a point of, and hopefully he doesn't let up here.
Okay, no, I agree.
Okay, then lower your voice because we are very close to each other.
But
and I know you come here to sell a book and try to pick a fight, but we're not going to do that today.
But Anna, then address the... Okay, you look at this January 6th committee, which I think is a kangaroo circus.
And then I got to go.
The chairman of the January 6th committee objected to a prior presidential election. Representative Raskin, the lead prosecutor for the impeachment, objected to a prior presidential election.
Have you ever heard
and the absolute hypocrisy.
Democrats say this president, we don't like him, but we're not going to do our job. They did their job.
As the book described, the Department of Justice went after Trump.
Thanks for Senator Cruz. His new book is Justice.
Let's go buy this man's book, right? He is a phenomenal writer, and actually over the years, I've come to really like Ted Cruz, and if he were to run again and actually the nomination, it's a shoo-in vote for me. This guy is crazy smart. Read his book, One Vote Away, but also let's pick up how the left weaponized our legal system. You're going to learn a ton from this man, folks. He destroys The View. They don't like it, so now they're going to cut him off because he shellacked all of them. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.